What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my Forma building guide for this month's Hall of Forms featuring Frame Tribe Lyn, Young Hector, Eliwood, and Khadein Nino. We're going to be having skills up to the Emblem Secret banners, so nothing really changes from the Three Houses revival. So let's start with Flame Tribe Lyn, who is a Lance Infantry unit, and she did introduce Godlike Reflexes into the game, and she's got Firelight Lance as her preferred weapon. This is definitely much older weapon than a lot of these, because it only gives her +5 to all of her stats, and it does have minus on special cooldown, so it does help with the Godlike Reflexes looping, and it does give her true damage based on 15% of foe's attack. It also gives her guard only if she meets the speed check, but it's not a high value effect right now with all of the special jumping and null guard. And then finally, it has a mini special spiral effect built in, so she can get the -1 special cooldown after the combat and also give it to the allies in 4 spaces. So this can support the allies, but primarily you're going to be using this for looping Godlike Reflexes and triggering it consistently for Lyn herself. She does have a preferred slotty skill in Verdict of Sakei, which is like a super finish form skill. So she needs to be in 4 spaces of an ally, and she's going to be getting extra stats in the combat depending on the number of allies in 4 spaces, times 4 added with 4. So max this could go up to is 12. So it can actually give you a lot of stats, and she also gets the 5 true damage if her special is ready or triggered before or during the combat. So this is gonna be a good skill even now, because no other slotty skill gives you +12 to all of your stats, 5 true damage, and the 7 HP healing. So you're not gonna be prioritizing her slotty all that much, and mostly you're gonna be focusing on the other passives. So she is going to be facing a lot of competition with the speedy Lance Infantry units like Attuned Sita and of course Attuned Temera, who also has much more defense, and Lyn is going to be needing a lot of support to compete with them, and she's also mostly going to be functioning as a melee tank instead of being an omni tank like many of the Lance Infantry units, because she can run Disencounter Melee Sacred Seal technically, but she doesn't want to because she wants to stack up even more stats. It is really competitive nowadays, especially when it comes to functioning as a speedy tank, and she doesn't really get the Disencounter effect out of her slotty skill unlike Young Hector. So right now she's going to be functioning more like a melee tank, unless we get some kind of emblem unit that literally gives you Disencounter and Close Counter both. This month there is an overlap between Forma Brave Dimitri and Forma Flame Tribe Lyn, so I know many people are going to be asking me which Lance Infantry they should be picking. Of course, you should go with the character you like more, but if we're talking about the specific combat, then it's kind of hard to beat Brave Dimitri in the comparison, because he has got a flat damage reduction weapon, and also it has got Disencounter built in. So compared to that, it is going to be a bit of an uphill battle, but it's not like either of them are really going to be functioning as a meta tank. And like I said, it's really hard for both of them to compete against Attuned Temera and Attuned Sita. But if you're a big Lyn fan, then you could definitely try and get some premium skills to optimize her, and even get some alternate skills for the future usage. So for her weapon, you could try and pick Null Spear Plus if you want to. Of course, her weapon is functional, but I'm only listing this as an alternate option that you might want to pick up, because it does give you the full null follow-up, and it also enables the usage of Gust with Lagoo's Friend 4. And Null Spear also gives you true damage, but it is going to be a bit of a downgrade compared to her preferred weapon, and she cannot really run Arcane Lewin or any kind of arcane weapon, because then she's going to be losing out on Verdict of Sakei. So that's why an inheritable weapon as a backup could be something that you could try and get, and Doubler Lance Plus is actually another good option that you could try and run on her, especially with some of the bonus doubler support, but it is not going to be available in this Hall of Forms. And Gust is going to be the special that you could try and pick up for getting the Forma value, and she already has Godlike Reflexes, so this could be another speed-based special that you could get. It does give you the special damage though, but it is going to be susceptible to the scout skills. But please note that this is not going to be working at all with her preferred weapon and Lagoo's Friend 4, because Lagoo's Friend wants you to run an offensive special that is 3 or higher cooldown, and Godlike Reflexes can work with Lagoo's Friend because it's a defensive special, so there's no cooldown requirement for a defensive special. But in the scenario that you're going to be using Gust, her preferred weapon absolutely cannot work out with this kind of slot B skill. So it's still a nice option to pick up, and for the slotty, you're not really going to be changing Verdict of Sakei. But again, if you do have the options and the torches, then you could try and get D bonus doubler as an alternate option if you want to try tanking even at range with her. And attack speed XL could also work out if you want to try and take her more of the player phase route for some kind of alternate build. For slot B, you should absolutely be getting Lagu's friend so that she can get the full damage reduction piercing and also even more true damage and flat damage reduction, which can really help her tank better. And this is going to be a must-have skill on her, but again, watch out for running Gust with her preferred weapon with Lagu's friend, because in that case, you're just going to be helping your foe and not Lyn. Lagu's friend 4 is extremely flexible and it will also work with her Godlike Reflexes builds, and you could also try and get Breath of Life 4 for the tanking. This is going to be giving you more healing and it does scale off the defense, and she doesn't have the highest defense, but still the extra stats out of Verdict of Sakei does help you with that, and it can also help you support your allies. But if you already have another unit with Breath of Life support that you're going to be running with her, then you could try and get Endless Tempest. It's a really underrated option for tanking because it gives you the dull effect so that you ignore any kind of visible buffs of the enemies. So this can be really useful to her, and it also gives her the extra movement, which can help you position better and also in the player phase, and she is going to be fast, so she can technically player phase a bit better. So if you're not getting Breath of Life, I would definitely suggest this skill. And if you're going to be running her mainly with her preferred weapon, then Oddspeed Wave can actually be a pretty good option for giving you the full null follow-up and also giving you extra speed. And Lyn really needs all of the speed that she possibly can get. So if you're not going to be giving her any kind of null follow-up support or running her with Null Spear, then this is also a solid option for her slot C. And if you're going to be using her more in summoner duels, then Firm Canto Curb is also an option that you could run for the utility. Young Hector is here to claim his shield fighter just like Brave Edelgard, and he has got Valiant War Axe as his preferred weapon. This does give him minus on special cooldown, and it also gives him -6 attack and defense debuff on the foe. He also has the guard effect and 30% damage reduction in the combat. This damage reduction is completely pierceable, and then he can inflict even more attack debuff on the enemy depending on their max special cooldown count. So if they have a 1 cooldown special, then you're going to be inflicting the max 10 debuff on them. And most units are going to be having lower cooldown. We're not exactly in a place where units are going to be running Gambit with high cooldown specials, and Hector does need to be within 3 spaces of an ally to get this additional attack debuff on the enemy, but it's not really all that hard as a safe tank. Then he has got his own preferred slotty skill in Ostia's Heart. This does have distant counter built in it, so this can often help you as you don't have to run that Sacred Seal and you could run it on a different unit instead, and that really helps you in Arena Assault and Summoner Duels S. And it also gives him -8 attack and defense debuff on the foe and 7 HP healing per attack in the combat. And people are also going to be wondering which axe armor they should be getting with Shield Fighter in this month, with Brave Edelgard and also with Young Hector, and I'm going to be answering that in a moment. So if you're trying to pick up some of the premium skills, of course, Shield Fighter is going to be at the top. You could try and get Armored Blaze because he already comes with Armored Beacon. So if you're going to be running a near safe build in the future without Shield Fighter, then this could help. In the slaughter, you're going to be running his preferred skill, but still you could try and get Stronghold for its cleansing as a fun option. There are not a lot of slaughter skills that are going to be competing or be as good as his preferred skill. For slot B, you should absolutely be trying to get Shield Fighter. This is the must-have skill, and it improves his tanking so much, and it should be run with Pavis or Aegis. It gives you a lot of unpierceable damage reduction, so it especially helps against the meta threats. And because he has a distant counter slotty skill, he could also function as a Far Savior. So there, you're really going to be needing this kind of damage reduction. And if you get really unlucky, which does happen with the RNG, then at least try and get Reopening for its flat damage reduction. It does work for him. Weaving Fighter can work out, but it's not going to be giving you flat damage reduction like either of these skills. And for Slotzy, you could try and get the near safe skill because he already comes with a far save, so you could have both of them. And because of his slotty skill, you could just switch between them depending on your need. But if you already have both of these save skills on him, then you could try and pick up Breath of Life 4. Realistically, you're not going to be running this over a safe skill, especially on him who doesn't have mobility like Brave Edelgard. But yeah, you could still try and get this as a premium option, and Shield Fighter should be your top priority. For a Sacred Seal, you could try and run Wily Fighter. It's a pretty nice Sacred Seal, giving you the guaranteed follow-up attack, and more importantly, the full buff neutralization on the enemy, which can really help him as he's not really going to be running close defense 4 all that much as a slotty skill, and he's going to be running his preferred skill. So Emblem Marth is going to be the perfect emblem for him for making Pavis and Aegis into a 1 cooldown special that he could easily trigger with Shield Fighter with its special jumping. If you built up Brave Edelgard with Shield Fighter in this Revival holoform, then you could consider both of these options depending on your usage and your needs. Of course, you should be picking your favorite again, but combat-wise, these units are pretty similar when it comes to near saving. They both have min-max stat line, and they both have pretty similar weapons with the debuffs and everything, but there are definitely factors to both of them that can help give them the advantage. So for young Hector, obviously has got a better distant counter slotty skill. So if you're going to be far saving it with him, you could just try and run Hardy Bearing Seal or just any other Sacred Seal for enhancing his bulk. Whereas Edelgard is going to be needing to run distant counter melee Sacred Seal, or if you run Fortification, then you would need to initiate combat with her first so that she can get the distant counter effect. So it's a lot easier for young Hector to just switch up the roles and function as a far savior. And on the other hand, Brave Edelgard has got the superior mobility with her +1 movement and with the order status, so that just allows you to position better and really helps when you don't have guidance for or any kind of warping for an armor. The rarity of Brave Edelgard also does matter because you can often get her randomly in your arena tickets, and because she's a Brave unit, she is going to be in the normal summon pool. So most people are going to be having more merges on their Brave Edelgard compared to young Hector, but she does take more Dragon Flowers. And I also have some simulations that may help you decide and also show how similar they are when it comes to the near saving matchups. And here we have Brave Felix with absolute max investment. And as you can see, because of Shield Fighter and Pavis, he's able to survive. And comparing that to Brave Edelgard, she does survive with a bit more HP because she's got a bit more HP than young Hector. And she also has a slight bit of help from Mystic Boost Sacred Seal. Now, you may wonder why I'm showing her with Mystic Boost but not with young Hector. And the reason being is that he doesn't have a full buff neutralization effect in his slot A, and he's mostly going to be running his preferred skill over close defense 4. And because the difference in his defense and resistance is much lower than that of Edelgard, he doesn't need Mystic Boost Sacred Seal all that much, and Wily Fighter actually helps you a lot more in other matchups as well, and it also helps you against Brave Felix. And Wily Fighter is going to be the Sacred Seal of choice for near saving, and Brave Felix does have the Hexblade effect in his weapon, which many times people do forget because he just has so many good things, but this can actually affect the matchups quite heavily because he just destroys the units that have a bit more defense than their resistance. And the use of Mystic Boost starts to matter more when you have the difference in your defense and resistance be 10 or more, and for Edelgard it is exactly 10, so it can actually matter more for her, but not so much for young Hector. And when we have got Emblem Sigurd, young Hector definitely wants to have Wily Fighter. If you run Mystic Boost Sacred Seal against this kind of max Sigurd, then he's actually going to be dying. So again, a reason why Wily Fighter is so good on him. Other Sacred Seals which can boost up your defense can also help, like Attack Defense Form, but Wily Fighter again is going to be helping you a lot more overall, spread out through all of the matchups. And Edelgard is also able to survive. She does have a bit more flexibility when it comes to the Sacred Seal in this matchup, and Emblem Sigurd is not able to finish off these Shield Fighter armors if he's not actually able to do any kind of damage in the actual combat. Then finally we've got Ictanir, and young Hector does survive him. Again, Wily Fighter does help against the playstyle of Ictanir, and it is going to be kind of similar to Brave Edelgard. So as you can see, these units do come close when it comes to near saving. It really depends on the flavor and what kind of distant counter slotty skill or better movement that you would like to have on your axe armor. And like I said, young Hector does have the advantage of being able to stack up a lot more bulk when it comes to far saving. So that is also something you could consider. And the two main stress test units for far save Shield Fighter units are going to be Ninja Lucina and Brave Bernie. So Ninja Lucina has got insane amounts of true damage for a quad attacking unit. Not to mention she's actually really bulky at this kind of investment because she is going to be getting the flat damage reduction out of her future focus and her future witness status. And here for far saving, it is always going to be really hard because even with Shield Fighter and Aegis, you are going to be needing set-hit support. He is easily one of the best support units for tanking because he gives out the 7 flat damage reduction and also the dull all effect, and also gives you +8 to all of the stats in the combat and the 7 true damage. So all of that really helps, and if you have Breath of Life and stuff like that, then of course this helps you even more. And keep in mind that this is the worst case scenario for him because here Lucina has got the max true damage out of her weapon. She also has Curve Shot fully charged up. She also has activated her detect skill. Ninja Lucina is going to be seen running Miracle a lot of times, but that's mainly for the Duo Arm matchup because Duo Arm can hit ridiculously hard for a Shield Fighter armor because of her damage reflection. But against someone like young Hector, she doesn't really need Miracle because as you can see, she does survive with good amount of HP. And for the far saving, I do like the Squad Ace Big X Secret Seal for just having more bulk. And most units that are going to be surviving Ninja Lucina are going to be able to survive Brave Bernie. So she does have the Desperation effect. And again, you could try and run Hardy Bearing if you want to, but it's not something you absolutely need here. Bernie is going to be taking quite a bit of damage because you do have the Weapon Strangle advantage, and she is mainly going to be relying on the unpierceable damage reduction of Curve Shot, and you're going to be able to kill the lower investment Brave Bernies if they're not running Miracle. But again, Miracle is something that you're going to be seeing on her quite a lot as well. Another thing to keep in mind is that we're likely going to be getting Lorather at the end of the month, which can mean trouble for a lot of the safe tanks. So be cautious about that if you're a competitive player. And giving us these back-to-back Shield Fighter armor options in Holo forms kind of makes me think that we're going to be getting some Shield Fighter counter down the line when Duo Fiorm gets her rerun in Double Special Heroes banner, which should be in a couple of months. And that's because Duo Leon also got countered right before his Double Special Heroes run with Breath of Life 4. So that is also something you could try and watch out for. Young Eliwood is a Sword Cavalier, and unlike Legendary Eliwood, he's not really locked to any kind of specific season. He does have Fury War Sword as his preferred weapon. It can give him +17 to all of his stats depending on the number of bonus status effects active on him, ×3 +5. And he already gives him 2 visible status effects with his Slotsy skill, and then he could run Emblem Seeger to get the +1 movement. He does get the full null follow-up and also 40% damage reduction on foe's first attack. So this weapon is not that insane when it comes to being offensive. I kind of wish that it had some kind of true damage, but the main reason why a lot of people are going to be using him is because of his Slotsy skill, Inborn Idealism. So at sort of turn, if you've got any kind of dragon or beast ally on your team, then it is going to be giving him and the ally with the highest attack for one turn the +6 buff to their attack speed and defense, the bonus doubler status, and the null panic status. Now from the time when we got Legendary Eliwood with this kind of support, there have been a lot more units that can give you this bonus doubler support, and there's of course a counter to it in the ploy skill with the ploy status, but still, he has got the global range along with Legendary Eliwood. The thing with Legendary Eliwood is that he has got the bonus doubler support built in his Art and Durandal and not his Slotsy, so technically he can run Shadow Shift and smite a unit and then reposition them, or just double reposition a unit and have that work out in his favor. But of course you will be needing some kind of other way of giving the visible buffs and everything, whereas young Eliwood is going to be restricted to his Slotsy skill for the bonus doubler support. The main bonus doubler support unit now has been Icthanir because he packs quite more punch, and even Nabata Juno can give that out. There's also a seasonal unit in Spring Mirabilis who can give that support out and help you with the stat swing, and Marin also gives that on her assist used, but she does get an extra action compared to Isadora or Astrid who don't really get that. We even have a free to play unit in Young Frederick who gives out the bonus doubler support, but you need to have the ally support or have the highest defense. So depending on your barracks and how much you need the global range bonus doubler support, you could consider getting his Forma, And if you're going to be getting him, then these are going to be the premium options you could try and get. No Quarter is going to be the default best option, being a Cavalier for getting the full damage reduction piercing. And he already comes with a Clash skill, so you could try and get Attack Speed XL, which can help you offensively and also gives you the flat damage reduction. Flared Sparrow could also be run, but its pre-combat damage is not as good anymore. And Verge of Death could also be an option, despite the overlap of the Null Panic in his slot C, mainly for boosting up his attack and speed so that he could soak something like a Bright Shrine of the enemy, or for using the AoE specials with Momentum. And for the slot B, the main offensive option is going to be Momentum for instantly triggering a No Quarter, and it also gives him true damage, which he lacks with his weapon, and enables the AoE nuking. Potent is also something you could try and get, and it does help you offensively. And if you're going more on the supportive side, unfortunately the detect skill from Ninja Lucina is not going to be available here, so the only options you have is Attack Speed Ruse or Speed Defense Snag, depending on how you want to use him. For slot C, of course you're going to be using his preferred skill, but still you could pick up Shadow Shift if you do have the option, as it is technically in the Hall of Forms pool. Khadein Nino is a red infantry mage with Child's Compass as her preferred weapon. This does give her -1 special cooldown, and she also gets the unhindered movement status, which lets her traverse the tree tiles, and also the +1 movement, which for its time was definitely not as common as it is now with Emblem Sigurd Ring. So this is the best part of her weapon overall, I would say. And for the in-combat stat, she's going to be able to get +5 to all of her stats, and then she gets even more attack and speed depending on the number of bonus status active on her ×4, and she already gets 2 bonus status active. So she's going to be getting the max 16 out of it if you support her well. And if her offensive special triggers, then she's going to be getting 50% damage reduction from foes' next attack, which doesn't really help you as much anymore when it comes to surviving. So mainly this weapon is going to be helping you get these status effects, and it does give you a good amount of attack and speed with all of the visible status effects. And she already has a decent base kit outside of the speed preempt skill that she has got, but still you could get some alternate premium options. So you could try and get Devoted Basket Plus if you really want to, but its pre-combat damage has been countered, so you're likely just going to be using her preferred weapon. Flare is going to be her best special to pick up, as it can give you the healing, and with Emblem Marth it could become a 1 cooldown special, so that can help you nuke better. And you could also try and get Flash Sparrow, as with her playstyle there are not too many slotty skills that you want to try and get on her, but Flash Sparrow can help you trigger your special again against the guard enemies, and if you're going to be having a 1 cooldown special, then this of course really helps. So this could be an alternate option. And for slot B, she definitely needs some kind of damage reduction and piercing, so Magical Null Follow-Up is going to be giving you that, and also the full Null Follow-Up, which does help as a fast mage. And because at lower investment, she's not going to be having as much HP for getting the full resonance usage, I'm going to be recommending Magical Null Follow-Up. But if you do have her with higher merges, and if she can reach 50 HP for you, then Resonance is going to be the skill you could get, and it also gives you the true damage, which just like Eliwood, she's going to be lacking in her weapon. And if you get extremely unlucky, then Special Spiral could also work out for giving you the full damage reduction piercing, but it is going to be a bit susceptible to the Scal effect. Speaking of Scal effects, Creation Pulse is a skill worth picking up for her playstyle, because you already have Time Pulse 4 for pre-charging it, and at higher investment or max investment you could give her Time Pulse Echo. So Creation Pulse can pretty much act as an anti-Scal effect, but it is going to be needing some support from her allies to inflict the penalty status on the enemies. So this is something you could try and run on her, and if you don't want to run this, then Inside Attack Speed could also help you get the extra offenses, and it also gives you the Insided status, which can make it a bit easier for her to get the full attack and speed out of her weapon. And Outspeed Wave is also an option if you're going to be running her with Resonance, which is not really going to be giving you the full null follow-up, so you could run this instead and also get the extra speed. Next month we should be getting a Sacred Stones Hall of Forms, and these are all of the potential options. Keep in mind that sometimes they do like to change the rerun schedule last minute to include some of the legendary units like legendary Lilina and legendary Faye. So maybe legendary Myrrh could happen, and technically Duo Leon is going to be in the time range of a Hall of Forms option if they want to do it. And I do think that these are going to be the main options for the Hall of Forms. I could see Summer Leon happening because he was the 4-star focus and we may get a third Arcane Sword. And Brave Erica is also an option because they have done Brave units before technically. And Vigard could be also an option similar to Murdoch, a bit older scoring option that many people did invest in. And Summer Ephraim is also a 4-movement Cavalier that they could try and put in. They're probably going to be having some kind of combination of Eric and Ephraim, a lot like the older times. So I could see it happening. And Valentine Selena is also a red option and she could get a lot of things. Duo Ephraim can happen because duo units are possible in holoforms with Duo Eden being part of Binding Blade holoforms. And I don't think Duo Ephraim is that high value in their eyes because he is, the only duo unit available randomly from the arena tickets, and he's also part of the weekly revivals, so he's not all that hard to get compared to the other duo units. Gilliam could also be another armor that they could try and feed us with Shield Fighter, and next month we're gonna be having twin saves available, so he could take advantage of it. And Summer Erica would be the next Erica I would expect after Brave Erica, so she's also an option. And we're likely not going to be getting a colorless option. I want to thank all of my YouTube members for their constant support. It really helps a lot, and you can click the link on the screen right now to check out my breakdown of the double rearmed banner that we have got. And make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as the tier 4 chill skills that keep appearing for these skill pools. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.